This is the news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Hello, welcome to your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. Making headlines today, Guyana will lose big with National Oil Company. Analyst says country better off seeking higher royalties in contracts. 7 years later, Guyana has no independent oil sector regulator. Opposition mulls retabling old Petroleum Commission bill as PPP government continues pussyfooting around issue. Oil spill insurance motion will test PPPC's loyalty to Guyana. Former EPA head says now is the time to reverse past mistakes. Quarantine man feared dead after boat mishap in Kanji Creek, and calls grow for major review of 2020 elections. Opposition commissioners and civil society groups see this as key to electoral reform. Meanwhile, ExxonMobil opens public meetings on fifth project today. Stay tuned to stay informed.
Not a single bar of service.
Not with us. Digicel officially has the best mobile coverage in Guyana. Ookla, the company behind Speedtest, recognizes Digicel as the network with the best mobile coverage in Guyana. Be it in Georgetown or in NI, we got you covered. Digicel, better together.
And now for the news in detail. Guyana would be better off pressing for increased royalties in future oil contracts rather than rushing ahead with plans to set up a national oil company. So said Arthur Deakin, co-director of the Energy Program at America's Market Intelligence. Vice President Barra Jagio had earlier this year announced the government's interest in setting up such a company ahead of an oil block auction in September. Ever since his announcement, there has been a lot of pushback against his idea, which he has disregarded. The International Monetary Fund, which has worked closely with Guyana since 2015, contended that there is simply no business case for a national oil company here. There are quite a few persons who agree. Deakin, for example, recently noted that the drawbacks of creating a national oil company in Guyana far outweigh the benefits. He reminded that the Guyanese government has said it is looking for an open public bidding process for its remaining oil blocks, where the most competitive bidder wins. Deakin said that awarding the block or blocks to a state-owned oil firm or limiting key players such as ExxonMobil from participating goes against that, especially since some of the participating companies have local experience that could lead to economies of scale. This month makes 7 years since Guyana has been without an updated legislative and regulatory framework that is essential for the protection of the oil industry against mismanagement and corruption. One of the key regulatory architecture that remains in limbo is the Petroleum Commission bill that would pave the way for the appointment of an independent regulator. President Ali, during his inauguration address, pledged to establish a petroleum commission to insulate the oil and gas sector from political interference. As a result of the government not making any headway with the improvement of the bill, much less its passage, Shadow Oil and Gas Minister David Patterson disclosed that the coalition is mulling bringing back the Petroleum Commission Bill of 2017. According to him, the draft bill will either be tabled in either the next sitting of the National Assembly, which ends in August, or before the year ends. And moving on, former head of the Environmental Protection Agency, Dr. Vincent Adams, has said that the Speaker of the National Assembly, as well as the government, is now in a position to reverse the mistakes made regarding oil spill insurance and, moreover, prove its loyalty to the country. His comments came on the heels of the recent revelation by Shadow Oil and Gas Minister David Patterson that the amended motion seeking full insurance coverage by ExxonMobil will be resubmitted to the House this week. He referenced the weakening of the insurance motion by the House Speaker, Manzoor Nadir, who had in February removed 13 of the 20 clauses in Patterson's motion. The opposition's motions on a full coverage insurance is calling for the government to include full unlimited liability coverage for oil spills and other disasters related to petroleum production as a condition for granting approval for ExxonMobil's fourth project, the Yellowtail development, and all other future petroleum development. In other news, ExxonMobil is scheduled to host a series of meetings with the public from today on its fifth oil project in the Stabroek Block, Uaru Plus. In an advertisement published in the daily newspapers, Exxon said its subsidiary Esso has submitted an application to the Environmental Protection Agency for authorization to undertake the Uaru development project, which will be implemented in multiple stages. Given that the EPA has already ordered an environmental impact assessment for the project, the notice also informed members of the public that they have 28 days to make written submissions to the agency, setting out those questions and matters which they require to be answered or considered in the environmental impact assessment. The 28-day period will conclude on May 29th. Today's meeting will be held in Region 1. Meanwhile, on Monday, May 23rd, a session will be hosted in Region 4 at the Umanayana in Kingston from 17 hours. Other meetings will take place in Regions 2, 3, 5, and 6. And moving on, opposition commissioners will reiterate their call for GCOM to order a review of the body's operational procedures when they meet with Attorney General Anil Nandlal later this week. It is understood that the elections body has been invited to discussions with the Attorney General come Thursday. This meeting will facilitate exchanges pertaining to the draft Representation of the People's Act, bill and regulations. Vice President Jagdeo had said 2 Fridays ago that GCOM and civil society group Electoral Reform Group had provided the most substantive contributions in the consultations so far. APNU-AFC Commissioner Vincent Alexander said that the opposition commissioners are looking forward to meeting with the Attorney General as the issue of reviewing the faults of the 2020 general elections is among very pertinent matters that are key to any beneficial reforms of election operations. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 and 99.5 FM. This is your news at noon. We will resume after the break.
The Government of Guyana, through the Ministry of Agriculture, in collaboration with the CARICOM Secretariat, will be hosting the premier Agri-Investment Forum and Expo with the aim of achieving 25% food security within CARICOM member states. It's an opportunity to promote dialogue among key stakeholders, develop partnerships between local and foreign investors, farmers and distributors. It's also an opportunity to showcase your goods and services with an estimated list of over 300 local and international delegates. It's the premier Agri-Investment Forum and Expo, hosted at the Arthur Chung Convention Center from the 19th to the 21st of May. For more information on registration, email agri.invest@moa.gov.gy or call 592-223-7526. For booth allocation and branding, email agriexpogy@gmail.com or call 592-625-8551.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. 30-year-old Kevin Franz of Alverston Village, Quarantine Berbice, is feared dead after the boat he was in capsized in the Kanji Creek on Saturday. According to reports, he, along with 4 others, including a policeman, had ventured into the Kanji Creek by boat to make checks on cattle. It was during the boat ride to the location that the incident occurred. Police said 2 boats that were 20 to 30 feet ahead of the vessel France was in caused heavy waves in the water when they passed, and it resulted in the boat capsizing. As a result, Franz and the 4 others in his vessel fell overboard. The 4 men from the boat swam to shore, but Franz was nowhere to be seen in the water. The 4 survivors were taken into custody for questioning in relation to the incident. An investigation is underway. In other news, the Ministry of Education is calling on all untrained teachers in the system to enroll in the Cyril Potter College of Education without delay at the appropriate level and program. In a statement signed by Chief Education Officer Marcel Hudson, the ministry iterated the importance of teachers acquiring training. The statement pointed out that the criterion requiring the employment of in-service teachers for 1 year before entering CPCE is no longer applicable. The ministry said that the decision to remove the entry-level requirement is in keeping with its objective to have all teachers trained. Meanwhile, Minister of Home Affairs Robson Ben on Sunday handed over a new state-of-the-art police regional divisional headquarters at Anaregina to the Ghana Police Force officially. Construction of the project started under the APNU-EFC coalition government. The divisional headquarters at Anaregina on the Essequibo coast was constructed by Builders Hardware and General Supplies and funded by the government at a sum of over $215 million. With its modern exterior and interior design, the divisional headquarters will house several departments and facilities, including a domestic violence room, juvenile-friendly holding area, and child-friendly area. And again, Minister Ben on Sunday commissioned 2 police outposts in Region 2, one at Lima Sands and the other at Onderneming Sandpit. According to a police press release, residents of the Onderneming Sandpit area can now benefit from a new police outpost which was handed over officially to the Ghana Police Force. According to the police, the Onderneming Sandpit police outpost will serve the security needs of residents of the area. Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, meanwhile, across the Lima Sands, the outpost is pegged at $4.5 million. The police outpost, a retrofitted 40-foot container, will serve the security needs of residents of the Lima Sands and surrounding areas. And to wrap things up, COVID-19 cases continue to rise, with the Ministry of Health reporting another 45 new infections on Sunday. 2 persons are also in the COVID-19 ICU. The country has now seen a total of 63,849 cases. Just before we go, as usual, let's turn the pages of today's Kaieteur News to page 7, dedicated to being blunt. No one Guyana with doubtful election process. A major hindrance to a one Guyana is the fact that many Guyanese do not trust the elections process. How do citizens unify if they do not believe in the process which allows them to choose the leader they desire? As one civil society group puts it, election reform is vital to strengthening democratic institutions and processes in Guyana in order to maintain political stability and raise the standard of living of citizens. But for some reason, there seems to be a reluctance to urgently and comprehensively review the country's electoral process, in particular at the constitutional level. Citizens must demand a reason for this, because simply there cannot be unification in such a diverse society if any group feels cheated and, even worse, can easily point to plausible loopholes. Guyana's leaders must stop toying with the idea of electoral reform. They must do it and restore citizens' faith in the process. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.